Look, Ma! It's me! Serious Sam on the PS Vita! Yeehaw!
Yeah!
On November 16th, 2025, homebrewer FGS released a port of Serious Sam the First and Second Classic Encounters to PS Vita, using the open source release of Serious Engine. This isn't their first rodeo on Vita, also working on the Half-Life and Perfect Dark ports. A true connoisseur of classic FPS. It's a simple install if you already own the game and your Vita is modded. I would suggest checking out the video by Zealous Chuck for further instruction on that. This port runs at the Vita's resolution of 960 by 544, and its performance is quite good. For now, I'll say that the vanilla first encounter experience runs almost flawlessly, while the second encounter can struggle from time to time, however it's definitely playable. I should mention that my PS Vita 1000 model is not overclocked, so what you're seeing in this video should reflect what you would experience at home. Something you won't be able to avoid are the vicious load times. Moderately sized maps can take almost 2 minutes to load, while large maps can take about 5. This is considering the forced autosave, which will cause this screen to hang for roughly 40 seconds. If a future update to this port is achieved, eliminating the autosave altogether would be a plus. Should you need to save, you can always do it manually in the menu. By the way, when you boot into either of these games, what loads first is an overview demo. That's cool on an old PC, but on the slow-ass PS Vita, well, don't bother waiting all that time, you can just skip by pushing start. This is another thing that I think the developer could think about removing. This Vita port has a default set of controls, which are fine I guess, but I quickly changed them myself to something a little more user-friendly. You can see that on screen now. This is what it'll look like in-game. Note that the key inputs are listed as joystick buttons because, well, it is a PC game after all. To answer a few questions like, what about ducking? Well, it's not an important feature and actually isn't required at any point during either games. Why is jump assigned to D-pad down? That's so you can easily platform while moving the left analog stick. You could assign it to the L button, but I feel like that's better for the sniper scope. That and the Serious Bomb are not relevant in the first encounter, so for those controls you could set them to whatever you like, but I prefer consistency between the games. I noticed the developer specified that the Natrixa message board can't be controlled, but I'm not sure why they said that because it can be done by default with the mouse cursor, assigned to both analog sticks. The select button is assigned to the console, which only seems to work in the menu for some reason. Seems pointless here as you can't interact with it, and thus no ability to use cheats. Now, you may find that throughout the video I'm using different assets for the weapons and enemies. Serious Sam has such a bizarre history with releases, and so optionally, you can use converted assets from Serious Sam's Alpha, the Xbox port, or whatever else you decide to load in really. From my experience, these assets don't affect the performance of the game. However, they do contribute to a somewhat longer time spent loading. So, the video capture that you're seeing here matches the PS Vita's screen quite well, but it does seem to skip just a tiny little bit, possibly a result of the recording method, a USB plugin with OBS. It's that, or perhaps I just don't notice it as much on the Vita screen? That said, wow, this looks so good on my Vita. OLED screen and all, yeah, but the classics just translate perfectly to this size. You notice the imperfections less. I know someone has also ported this to the Nintendo Switch, and it might look pretty good on the Switch Lite, but I don't even have a Switch anymore, so PS Vita all the way. Something you might notice is that the weapon models are almost cut off by comparison with the original. This is a known quirk with widescreen in the game, which was fixed for the Steam release, and you can sort of achieve it with the original game as well using the Serious Sam Classics patch mod, but unfortunately you can't use that on the Vita because this port doesn't support dedicated mods. But what about those custom assets I just mentioned? Aren't those mods? Technically yes, but these mods like Serious Sam Alpha Remake or Serious Sam Xbox on PC are total conversions built to modify more than just the game's assets. So what if you try to load one of these mods on Vita? It'll immediately crash to the app screen. Fingers crossed that a future update can fix this. So is custom user content impossible here? No, you can load any custom maps from the community for its appropriate game, they just have to be in GRO format within the game folder, much like those converted assets I discussed a moment ago. Personally, I keep an individual folder for temporary storage of mods. You can easily move them in and out by using Vita Shell. I swap between mods pretty much every time I start the game. When you've been playing Serious Sam as long as I have, you do what you can to keep it feeling fresh. I'm going to share something with you guys that I found online more than 10 years ago. It's a file that unlocks every single map in the game. Just put it in the game folder, open it up, and click the bomb. I have had some antiviruses flag it in the past, but I've never gotten a virus from it. Use at your own risk, I guess, but either way, I've left it in the description. Now we've got our full unlocked Sam, and oh, the menu graphics for first encounter are missing. Strange, they're present in the second encounter. I have to click down for each and every selection here. Would be nice if I could just hold the button to scroll down faster or use the analog stick. As mentioned earlier, whatever map you load, it's gonna take some time. That being said, consider how if the player dies, you're gonna be sitting and waiting for it to load again. For this reason, I'm cautious about the difficulty I choose here. Do I want an appropriate difficulty for the game, or more consistent play without frequently waiting to load? Now we're in the game, and aiming feels fairly natural, though precision can be challenging, especially in certain maps with slowdown. You can tweak the camera speed to your liking in the game options, though. I encountered a crash one time in Dunes, not sure why. I've otherwise played this port for hours, and it hasn't happened again. You'll rarely have issues with playability in the first encounter, but the second encounter does fluctuate. There were a few moments where I was frustrated at the performance, largely suffering from the frame rate. I wouldn't say this is common enough to be a serious problem, but it is something to consider. One thing the developer suggested to improve game performance is to disable dynamic lights. I decided to give that a try as per instructed, but I didn't actually notice a difference. It's possible I did something wrong, but just for the record, I did verify that the correct line was set to 0. After this, I just set it back to 1. We've established that dedicated mods won't work, but there is one mod that's pretty close which doesn't rely on the in-game mod selector. This is XPLUS, which installs directly to the game. Same for us Vita users, so you're gonna need to connect to a PC with access to your files. What is XPLUS, you ask? XPLUS is an HD-ified custom mod that brings weapon and environment assets over from Serious Sam HD. At first I noticed the controls weren't working, and as it turns out, the mod replaced my controls with PC inputs, including the camera, which I can't easily fix in-game. So I went to my TSE folder and copied over the controls folder to TFE, and now it works again. I was surprised to find that XPLUS runs well on the Vita, and while it does affect the performance, it's not a substantial difference. I wonder what'll happen if I load the Xbox assets with it. Oh wow, that's bad. How about the alpha assets? Oh yeah, it's Serious Sam Corruptions too. Heh, well now I'm faced with a conundrum. XPLUS has essentially injected itself with the game, and to revert back to no XPLUS, I would probably have to reinstall the game. Being the case if I want to use those Xbox or alpha assets here again. I should note that XPLUS is a first encounter specific mod. There's no second encounter version of it. I don't think custom maps would be affected too much with XPLUS if you still want to play those, but you may face certain incompatibilities as a result. Whether this matters or not is up to you ultimately. After all, most custom maps worth playing are in second encounter anyways, which was completely unaffected by this install. Well, on that note, over to second encounter with custom maps. I've tried a lot of them, and their playability largely varies. Modest projects will run fine. Ambitious projects can be dreadful. Here are a few gameplay samples to demonstrate that experience. As you can see, it's hit and miss. Usually miss, but a lot of them are totally playable. Maybe not on the higher difficulties. A performance-related update would be awesome with custom maps in mind, to play the infinite supply without having to worry about it being playable or not. Oh, by the way, if any of you know of some great classic first or second encounter maps, let me know in the comments. I'd love to try more of these, but as an English speaker, they can be a bit hard to find, or the language barrier removes a lot of the contextual information. The developer mentions in their GitHub that second encounter might run out of memory during intense battles, but they haven't experienced it before. And neither have I, although by using the next encounter custom map pack, I did manage to make it happen. If you're familiar with Revolution on Steam, know that you can play some custom maps from its workshop if brought over to Classic, but it varies. Revolution has some exclusive content which, if used in a map, isn't going to work on Classic Vanilla. There is a GRO file you can download called se1_rev resources as part of the Classics patch, but I've had mixed results. Your best luck will always be to stick with content created for Classic. Here's something I found last minute. It's an HUD mod that works for Classic called Happy Killer HUD Font, implemented by Dreamy Cecil. Link in the description. I recommend this because the old Classic HUD is a little boring in my opinion. This makes it look interesting. It'll even work with XPLUS if you extract the contents of the GRO in the base game folder. By the way, GRO files are just renamed zip files so you can open them with most file managers. That's how I've managed to make my own custom GROs with the Alpha and Xbox weapons. Yeah, unfortunately I can't share them with you because the assets come from a variety of different sources, and it would take me a long time to find all those sources, so getting permission for it all is a bit out of the question. Oh, you know, one thing I would love to see is someone porting over the Public Test 1 major biomech. You can't just copy the files over, it results in an error. Seems like every other enemy from Classic builds has been converted, but not my poor oof boy here. As a whole, Serious Sam feels amazing to play on the Vita. Once the controls are set optimally, it's as natural as ever. Sometimes it felt like I was playing an official port. Truly, this is an excellent addition for your PS Vita. A big part of the reason that I've made this video in the first place is to raise awareness of the port. Hopefully this can encourage the developer to update it further. I'll be honest though, even if this never gets an update, I'll still be very happy with it. Just while we're here, might as well encourage improvement. Some have already mentioned a desire to use gyroscopic controls for aiming, and I don't know if that's possible or not, but it would be very cool. If you don't know much about Serious Sam, or maybe this is your first time looking into it, you might want to check out the plethora of videos that I've made about the series. They're some of my best performing videos, so perhaps if you watched this far, you might find some value in them. I am ecstatic about the attention PS Vita has recently had in the homebrew scene. Every other week, something new and incredible comes to the platform. For goodness sake, there's a rumor that we may eventually someday get Half-Life 2 on this thing? Whether that happens or not, you should check out the other amazing ports out there, and of course keep a lookout for what's coming next. I've heard the original Ace Attorney games might be making their way to the platform. That would be perfect for the PS Vita. Well, there you have it everyone. Thanks for watching. Take care, and I hope to see you in the next video.